Good morning. Good morning. Isn't this a fabulous day?
Yes.
Do you think it's the most beautiful day, delightful day that you've seen in a long time? Well, it's a trick question, honestly.
Yesterday was pretty good.
Yesterday was pretty good? Well, you think of it, it's, still early in the morning here. So we have time, if you want, to have it turn into a really funky day. Oh, what's she saying? My point is that the day unfolds and the day is experienced based on our thought, based on our expectancy, based on our intention. And if the morning started out where we stubbed our toe, as me, I couldn't believe this morning, I'm walking into my office and I've got one of those plastic things for the floor, so that your chair can roll on it. And I had my slippers on and I caught my toe on the edge of that thing and I just went down. I went falling. I just, boom, went down and closed it. I was working on my computer closed up and I thought, oh my God. Well, and I didn't say very nice. I said a word that you shouldn't say. I'm trying to train myself not to do that. But anyway, so then the computer came back on, and all was well. All was well. It was fine. But I guess the point is that that little incident could have set me off for the rest of the day. We teach in this teaching, in our Science of Mind teachings, that what we think about, we bring about. Thoughts become things. And so we are aware that we want to be cognizant of what is it that I'm thinking. And most of the time, we just move in this automatic mode of habitual thinking that is unknown to us in a real clarity type of way. We just move in a subconscious level. And so we operate most of the time from this level of automatic responses. And it's habitual. We have habits that we've developed, and some of them are good and some of them are not so helpful. So if you are looking at this on YouTube later in the morning, you know what your day was like. We're still sitting here at church saying, gosh, I wonder what the rest of the day is like. And we have the opportunity to set that tone, set that intention as what the rest of the day is going to be like for me. Our theme this month is called Release and Reveal. And so what we're talking about in the first part of it, what we're releasing are those things that we create, those thoughts, that persona, those masks, as I wrote in the Thought for the Week, that we incorporate, that we install in our lives to really, honestly, to cover us up. Because this small self, this little ego self, is afraid. It's fearful that I'm not enough. And that somebody's going to find out. I'm going to get caught. Somebody is going to recognize that I am not the great person that I want them all to think that I am. And so we cover up, honestly, this beautiful, pristine, gorgeous self. Because we talk about the fact that everything is God, whatever name you want to call it, source, joy, beauty, intelligence, all of everything is that in full expression. And so we are continually, hopefully, releasing this need to judge. To judge that you're right, I'm right, he's wrong, she's wrong, whatever the case might be. But this thing that we all are, that everything is so grand, is so deep, is so monumental, that our finite being really cannot comprehend it. We just can't fathom what it is. In fact, Ernest Holmes called it the thing itself. Sounds, kind of hardened. But that's one of the closest things you can say, because what is it? It's so broad that we really can't describe it, but that's what we are. And so we, in our teaching, have help ourselves along by developing affirmations, by saying things in our minds out loud, putting them on notes so that we can read them, all around the house, whatever, that are the truth, that is the truth about us, so that we can help incorporate it into our system, into our core fabric of our being. And so we can say, put down on paper and I can read it, I am whole, complete, and perfect. I am whole, complete, and perfect. And yet, this little tiny persona comes up and says, oh yeah, right. Sure, that's a lie. Look at you. Look what you just did. And we're continually working with this battle, so to speak, of knowing the truth of our being, and then yet, how are we living it? How can we really live that truth? Yeah, we can say all these affirmations we want till we're blue in the face. But unless we can actually embody them, bring them into our true self, into our wholeness, it's just pie in the sky. It doesn't really work. Joel Goldsmith says that what we really need beyond affirmations, beyond anything that you'll read in a book, is to have the experience of God. To have that God experience. And how do we do that? We do that by going right where it is, going within to our core self and listening for that guidance, being available to know, what does this God self want me to be and do this day? It takes intention and it takes practice. And that's just a known, isn't it, with everything in life. If you don't have an intention and you're not practicing what that intention is about, it's not going to happen. It's going to be a pie in the sky thing. So we are on this road of discovery of what we truly are. And it's infinite. That's what's so great about it. You're not going to get there. There is no end result, guys. But every day we can get a little better. Every day we practice a little bit more. Every day that divinity within us and around us will show us itself if we are open and receptive and expectant of it. And it takes letting go of judgment. It honestly does. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and I don't know, I think there was something probably being talked about, politics or something in that realm. And probably some negative discussion was on the table. And one of the other friends said, well, everybody is just doing the best they can. And the other friend says, I know, that's what makes it so scary. Well, it's laughable, but there again, there's judgment there as well, And so we have these short little affirmations, inspirational messages that I've been getting on my phone every day. There's a fellow that writes them, and they're beautiful. Somebody else in here gets them too. Well, one of them came early, I don't know, it was a couple days ago or so, and it was so succinct and so right on that I want to share it with you. Those who leave everything in God's hand will eventually see God's hand in everything. Isn't that a beautiful one? Those who leave everything in God's hand. So we step aside. God's got this. God is in control of this. God is living my life. It's not my life. Joel Goldsmith says that there is nothing personal in the universe. It is all whole, complete, and perfect, as am I, because I am living the life of God. So for all of those who leave everything in God's hands, my day is set because God's in charge, will eventually see God's hand in everything. Doesn't that make you feel good? Well, wow, that makes it easy. Now, what are the secrets, though, to seeing God's hand in everything? How do we do that? Live in the moment. Take a deep breath. Live in the moment. No past is driving us into, what if, oh, I should have, darn it even. And no future is saying, oh my gosh. When we live in the moment, we are living in the now, and that's where life is. That's where God is. That's where love is. That's where peace is. That's where joy is. When I moved into the home I'm in now, a friend of mine made a little plaque for me, and I put it up on my bureau, and I look at it. Very simple. It says, trust me, period, God.
Awesome.
Trust me, God. That's the message. That we are to trust that right where I am, all is well. Right where I am, there is the availability to let Spirit, God, love lead me through whatever it is I'm going through. But it takes quieting this monkey mind. It takes letting go of yesterday and living in the now. Is there going to be pain? Is there going to be suffering? Is there going to be disappointment? Absolutely. Because we live in this life that has these ebbs and flows, ups and downs. Alan Cohen said there are two kinds of suffering. The suffering that leads to more suffering, and the suffering that leads to the end of suffering. If you are not willing to face the second kind of suffering, you will surely continue to experience the first. To recognize, yes, there are challenges, there are things in life I don't like, that I can even suffer over, but to know that this will come to an end, that I don't need to continue there. Joanne Richter said, the burden of suffering seems a tombstone hung about our neck. Can you feel that? Burden of suffering, that tombstone hung around our neck. While in reality, it is only the weight which is necessary to keep the diver down while he is hunting for pearls. Can you see that? The weight of this suffering is just keeping me down, available to see and find the pearls that are right here, to change my perspective. Maharishi said, you do not suffer. Only the person you imagine yourself to be suffers. You cannot suffer. Recognize there is this truth, this whole being that we are, this you, this I, that cannot suffer. Because it is. It is this beautiful, pristine being. I believe that we are all hardwired, eventually, one way or another, to recognize that we are guided by God's grace. That God's grace, God's hand, is eternally, always wanting to support us, wanting to raise us up, wanting to have us have a better life. I don't know why I'm getting emotional about it, but I'm thinking about, my yesterday, my little 3-year-old granddaughter turned 3. And the love that I and her parents, that we have for this little child, the anticipation of what's this rest of this life going to be. That's how God thinks of us. That we are its beautiful, beautiful creation. And for us to recognize that and to honor it and to trust it, to know that it has the very best in store for us, that this is the life I am living, that I am living this infinite, abundant, pristine. The words are just too many to even try to select. Life. I am living the life of God. How does that make you feel? I've caught on to that one lately. I'm stepping aside. I'm taking that mask. I'm taking that persona. I'm taking all the things that hide it and saying, you know what? I'm done with it. I'm not taking credit for anything. I'm letting this God self step in and fully operate. And yes, there are times when I stub my toe and I say a bad word. But the intention and the practice is that each day I'm getting better and better at remembering, at experiencing this God self that I am. This life is God's life. I am living God's life. I can hardly wait to see what divine grace has in store for me. Okay, I'm going to give you practice on that one, okay? So we're going to say this together. This life is God's life. This life is God's life. I am living God's life. I am living God's life. I can hardly wait to see what divine grace has in store for me today. I can hardly wait to see what divine grace has in store for me today. Now go out and have a fabulous day, and go Padres. Namaste.